Okay, so here we are ready to start one of the what-if scenarios. Now, one of the problems, we're going to do the aggressive British-U.S. alliance. The reason for that, I don't think it's one I've done much, but one reason I'm interested in it is the U.S. is no longer stuck with those, hey, I've got to actually go for things. But in the anti-Bolshevik crusade, which is the other one which they're given that kind of situation, unfortunately they don't have enough points. They still have the limited amount of points that they had before. And they have actually what turned out to be perhaps more demanding circumstances. So it doesn't really strengthen their hand to just be given the right to get understandings, although that probably does help a little bit in terms of the victory points at the end. In this one, they end up cranking the points, getting the equivalent of Britain at the end. In the last few turns, just about right on par with Britain, and Britain's been expanded from the power that they have in the base game. Everyone else is pretty much left alone. If you look, the points for Russia and Germany are the same. Their interests are the same. The amount of PFs they have to spend are the same. France is the same. Britain and the U.S. have a little bit the U.S. has got interest in actually moving into areas. So the Britain and U.S. have an interest in getting a control in the Rhineland. Britain has interest in getting control in Germany. What does that mean? The way I've taken that is it has no effect beyond the rules of the game, which is to say nobody can put pieces in Germany anymore, and stuff like that. So this is a very interesting option, one of the reasons that I kind of go for it. It gets really, this is actually probably the most weird one just because of that control marker in Germany, what that could do. Because that means Germany can attack anyone, because it's not an understanding. Some people probably play that means Germany's out of the game or something. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me within the framework of the game. All right, well, let's get started. One of the things about these what-ifs, though, is they don't impose anything particularly beyond what where the desires are to put pieces. So the fact that, the Rhineland might get seized in this or in the aggressive French policy, there's no real implication of that on the Germans. And to tell you the truth, there's a significant amount of historical opinion that, a setback like that, Hitler probably would have fallen, or if he failed to constantly be adding territory, because that's what his regime was based on. Stalin, much less likely to be affected by a failure of that sort. Okay. Another problem in terms of the power balance in this, you still have the same sequence of play. Now, I think it's Stuka Joe who used, somebody mentioned they were using a random turn ordering. Okay, but that definitely, changes the dynamics of the game significantly. It probably makes sense in some of these ahistorical ones. So, let's take a look at our new objectives. The U.S., their biggest thing is taking the Rhineland over. Understandings with their allies, the big powers, are all important, though, as well. And for Britain, well, we want a conquest of Germany, understanding with the Soviets, and then understandings with other major powers, largely, including the U.S. Does the U.S. care about Britain? Yes, they do. They do big time. So, we have to kind of try to figure out what we want to do. And among other things, the French move into the Rhineland makes almost no sense in this scenario. If you look at the French player, The Rhine is only worth 2 points to them, and there's just too many people interested in controlling it. You might end up seeing occupation of parts of the Rhineland with the Germany militarizing the rest of it. Not something the French want to see. It feels like they're giving kind of a weak hand here. But, you know, you can kind of parlay those weak hands into something good. I've seen France win the historical every now and then. Usually, though, vast majority of games, and again, it's usually being played with people who haven't played it much before, have fallen to either Germany or the Russians, and often in a tie. So what does the U.S. want to do? Do they want to throw a couple of pips into the Rhineland to try to make sure that they don't lose it right away? What else is important to them? The minor countries have become less important for them to prop up, but they don't have to worry about things like France. Given the point situation, well, Britain is really their big ally here. And Britain has 9 points. I don't really know. If I can't get... So Britain is like, well, I'm going into Germany if I can. What the hell? That doesn't hurt me at all. It hurts Germany in the sense of not having a place to store their points anymore. But it makes them bonus in the situation that they never have to worry about not being able to attack anyone if they allow Britain to take control. So they may not be too concerned with this. And that's kind of the problem, is who's concerned with a British occupation of Germany itself? Well, Russia does not like that idea. Russia has a 6-point victory condition in Germany. So they do not want to see that. I don't know. I have to consider this and do some internal depth. And I probably am not going to play every decision out anyway in this. I'm probably going to take a lot more of it offline. U.S. There goes my damn Zoom. Broken. The U.S. decision is really, really difficult in this. They don't have enough points. They only have 2 points to go in with Germany and the Rhineland. And Germany is not going to say, yeah, I'll agree to hold off on the Rhineland until you can get in too. It's too important to Germany. On the other hand, the U.S. doesn't have enough power to really say no to the British getting Germany, which they might kind of want. They'd like an understanding with the Germans eventually. Their key points in areas that are at risk are those 2 places, the Rhineland and Germany. Everything else, Poland, Czechoslovakia, the Baltic states. The Baltic states they have no chance at. Nobody cares. The British have an interest in getting control in the Baltics. Nobody's going to stop the Baltics from falling. So the U.S. position looks really ugly again. And I have no idea where to go. I can't find any allies in this supposed British-U.S. alliance. The Brits ain't really aligned with me the way they were in the original game. In the historical, you have this strong alliance between France, Britain, and the U.S. They all want to do the same things. They want to prevent stuff from falling. But now the U.S. is worried about Britain. They're worried about France. Well, not France, but they're worried about Britain here in a way that they weren't before. And then, of course, Russia is worried about the possible fall of Germany, which is just weird, too. Although they probably wouldn't be happy with the Western powers essentially co-opting Germany in that way. I don't know what that's supposed to stand for. But I am having a hell of a time figuring out what to do with my U.S. pieces. I could just toss them in the U.S. and build up until I have enough to make a difference. Because here's the problem. If I'm fighting against a controller, a person trying to control the territory, and I'm alone, my 2 strength points means they just have to throw 7 in. And that gives them 3 to 1, and anything but a 6, they end up taking control. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I just can't buy myself an alliance. From there, France has 4 points. Hey, we learned our lesson in the last game. Nobody should care about Alsace-Lorraine. We're going to put 3 points in there, I think, because the Germans have 12. They would have to throw 8 in to get a good shot. And this would just mean the Germans have to throw a 9th one in. 8 points into Alsace-Lorraine for the 1 point there doesn't seem worth it, and then I reserve a point for later. Again, I'm in that weak position where all I can do is kind of interfere with someone. This is, I think, the best I can do. Puts us to Britain. Britain's got a pile of points, and they would love to take Germany. That's 5 big points for them. Who's going to stop them? Well, Russia probably will. Russia can throw 6 in, and we can't easily fight that. What else are we interested in? We might be interested in a bargain for the Baltic states. We get as much as the Germans do there. Other than that, we're interested in protecting things still. And there are some big things we want to protect, aren't there? Poland's worth 3. For us to have an understanding in. I'm going to put 5 here and 4 in Poland. That 4 in Poland means Germany can take Poland if they want. But if they take Poland, it's only worth 3 to them, then they may be foregoing their free grab of the Rhineland. But it's on Russia. Russia's only got 6 points. Russia would love to take control of the Baltic states. Poland, they can leave that in the background. In we go. And now to Germany with their big pile of 12 points, which allows them, what do they want? Well, they want the Rhineland while they can get it. There's no question there. We can't pass on that. Oh, no, Russia can't allow this. Oh, Russia can't allow that. So hold on. We don't want the Baltics falling. We don't want Poland falling. Or we don't want the Baltics falling, and we don't want Germany falling. So we're going to put 3 in each to kind of try to prevent a quick takeover. So Germany's got a cheapie. They could take Romania. Romania is only worth 2 points to us, but it's in the bank. Our other points? Well, 5 in the Rhineland, no question. What about Austria? Austria is worth 4. Anschluss time. We got 2 more points. Do we want to put them in Germany, or do we want to put them somewhere else? There's no somewhere else that really calls out to us. I don't think the Brits are going to be able to get Germany. The danger is, though, they can go to one-on-one on the Russians. They can go to one-on-one on both of us. That makes this a less valuable place to be. What's our next most valuable? We've taken Austria and the Rhineland this turn. Romania, the Baltics, Czechoslovakia. Nobody's going to take Czechoslovakia, though, away from us. Everybody wants to keep Czechoslovakia open. I'm going to put my counter in the Baltics just to make sure that the Russians don't get it for free, basically. All right, battle time. Russia's not going to fight the Germans here. They've got nothing to gain. Britain might want to go for this, though. That's the 1-to-1 table. On a 1, I get control of Germany. Bang, there's some big points. I do not. However, I get an exchange, so I get 2 pips in Germany left. And we got a couple control markers to place. And that's about it for turn 1. US's big goal at this point is an understanding with Germany. Not to prevent Germany from attacking them so much as to prevent Britain from getting control there. This is an important value for us. In terms of understanding, it's the biggest one of any area that could fall. And it's a lot of points for Britain that we want to prevent them from getting, because they could run away from with the game if they start getting too much power. So that's where we're going to go with that. For the French, well, hope nobody notices, and once Alsace, what's our second choice though? We're not too interested in most other areas here. In fact, our points have been switched around because we had an understanding for 3 in the Rhineland. We don't care about the Baltic states at all. Only the US cares about saving them. Which means Poland, Czechoslovakia, things like that are important to us. Romania, I think, is important to us equally. So we have to choose where we want to throw our extra points. We probably want to conglomerate them. Putting them spread out just makes them easy to kill. And I'm going to probably ditch Romania. I don't think I can hold on to that. So I'm going to go for the fight for Czechoslovakia here. It's not worth that much to us. If you look at the old French, it wasn't either. I don't know where the extra point went. The extra point is Romania. Romania is now worth more to us, but nobody's going to help us in Romania. Of course, if we make Romania hard, maybe we'll get help. 5 points is a fairly significant commitment. I don't know if Romania is worth it to anyone else. Czechoslovakia is also, but the Russians have some interest there, so maybe they'll help out. I don't know. We're not really able to see any kind of alliance coming through. You know, the English are willing to say, well, yeah, we'd help you out in Czechoslovakia. We're vaguely interested in getting our understanding there, but they're not really. I mean, at one point, they're not going to do much for it. So if I'm going to be the guy defending it, I might as well go for the place that only I care about. That puts us to the Brits with 12. Now, Britain's potentially going to be draining a lot of Russian points if they keep throwing into Germany. 12 is enough to do a 2-to-1 on these US here. That's appealing. And our other points? Let's keep throwing them into Poland, I guess. Yeah. Poland's our most important other place. So we'll just keep cranking that up. And here I am giving you a blow-by-blow view of the whole thing. So I'm going to step back and come back after Russia and Germany. Germany started to make Russia unhappy by playing in Poland. Russia played building up their Baltic states with an agreement with Germany to go in there, through into Czechoslovakia. And Germany said, okay, well, I can take Poland. I got 2-to-1 there. I got a good shot at that. As soon as they started playing in there, Russia said, come on, no. We can split Poland, you know, because we both want control of things. This is naturally good for us. And Germany said, okay, well, that means I'm going into Czechoslovakia. Now, Russia cares less about Czechoslovakia than they do about Poland, so they accepted this. As we work forward through the turns, Britain's the only one who has a possible attack out of the Allies. They got 12 points here. They could go for a 1-to-1 again against everyone. And you know, I think they want to, because people seem to be stopping them from getting into Germany, and they get no effect. Then the Russians aren't going to attack anywhere, but the Germans have a 2-to-1 here in Czechoslovakia, and they don't get it. And that means we get our shared control up here in the Baltics again. Almost always happens. The U.S. gets an understanding in Germany, which could be a very dangerous thing for Germany, because now it means that U.S. involvement elsewhere becomes. I always get them confused because of the colors. The U.S. involvement in Germany means that U.S. can start throwing their weight elsewhere, but there's someone else interested in knocking the U.S. out of Germany, and that changes the nature of the game heavily. We got some other understandings to play here, and I'm not sure why I'm worrying about showing you that. But that's where we are at the end of 2, and we move down to 3. We'll take a look at the placements there. Here on turn 3, we pumped up the U.S. has thrown enough to get an understanding in Great Britain. Still there. They pumped up Poland a little bit. France wants their understanding in Germany. They don't want these points taken away by the Brits. That's the biggie. But they're also throwing points into Romania, making it harder for the German juggernaut to clear the way for a Russian-German co-dominion there, to use a Pax term. Britain itself built up its forces to get a 2-to-1 against everything except the Germans in Germany, but then the Russians ended up pumping up to an understanding level there. And where else did Britain place? Britain also added defense to Poland. The Russians, obviously going into Germany, and that's a dual purpose. One, preventing the British from getting Germany. We have big points desired for the understanding there. Big 6, same as in the historical. But we also increased the cost of Czechoslovakia. Now, Germany can take it if they want to. There's not a lot I can do about that, but I'm the only person defending it, and it's most important to me. If they go for one of the others, such as life, they didn't come to any agreement with me as to trying to slip into Poland or Romania this turn. And I don't know if I would have trusted them, you know. And let's see, our next is, we're on the Germans, and they have a big 20 points plus 3 in the bank that they can put towards somewhere. Now, they're looking at Poland, Czechoslovakia as the big 3-pointers that they could grab right now. Poland is 5, 8, 9, can't attack the U.S. without hitting this first. I'd rather let Britain maybe clear that out for me. So I could go for Romania on my own. That would be a real dicky move to the Russians. That would take 16. I can easily do that. Get that sleazed in there before the French get their understanding into play. Or likewise, I've got here where it would take me another 12 to get Czechoslovakia. Unfortunately, I can't get everything, and that's kind of the problem here. So, I don't know which is most intriguing to me. I can get a good 2-to-1 against one of them. I'll come back when I'm set. Because France has Alsace-Lorraine, I want Romania. That deprives Russia of some points. It's worth as much to me as Czechoslovakia. I don't know if I can win Czechoslovakia, but I want to make sure that I get something this turn. Czechoslovakia is also a bigger cost. So I threw my extra points into Germany. Not sure I want them there. That probably will prevent the Brits from attacking, or at least attacking you know, getting control this turn. I kind of want them to get control. For whatever reason, that gives me a lot of power if no one can have understandings with me. Run through. U.S. of course isn't attacking anyone. The French don't have any attacks. Brits. Brits are perhaps interested here. I have 24. Now, 24, 16, 22, 23. I could go for that 1-to-1. I think it's my only chance. I really do. I hate doing it. I could pick away at other people's stuff, but I feel like you need to win a 1-to-1 to take Germany in this. That's only a 1 in 6 chance, and I get nowhere. It's a lot of points if I don't get it. That's if I'm destroyed there. That's the problem, and that'll hold it for the Brits. That goes to Russia, who I don't think has any attack they want to make, and then to the Germans, who certainly don't want to attack anything here at low odds, but they've got their 2-to-1 over in Romania. And I don't think they could have gotten to 3-to-1. I only have 7 extra points. I'm 1 point short. No good there either, which means we drop down to turn 4. Okay, big plays across the board. I'm holding off on the Germans because their decision is always, you know, very easy to calculate what they can precisely do. Everyone else is kind of harder. So the U.S. pumped up their holdings in Germany, and they actually threw themselves into Czechoslovakia as well. The French, I think, also increased in Germany. These do a dual purpose. One, they prevent the Germans from being able to attack them, and two, they prevent the Brits from getting Germany. The French are sleazing their way into Great Britain to try to prevent this from being undermined by the British, but the Brits threw a big pile in. Not enough to take both the U.S. and the French out, and then you'll see the Russians also jumped in big there, feeling that, hey, we don't want these things collapsing. Their other choice was to go into Poland and maybe pick off the U.S. points there. And so we're pretty much set with safety everywhere for most of the countries. This kind of the fact that Britain wants Germany makes everyone else really interested, and it creates this really weird dynamic where Germany may or may not want to allow Britain to win. I mean, they certainly would rather Britain take Germany in terms of that frees them up. The only question is, well, what does that mean elsewhere after they do? Where do the points go? But it does make life a lot easier on them. Now they have a whole bunch of points and a few places that they can't go unless they start clearing some of this German stuff out. So they're going to talk to Britain about, hey, how can we clear Germany? You know, what can we do here? Can you knock out the U.S.? Can I knock out France and Russia? What can we do? Because we need to get this out of the way. And then after we clear, you know, the excess points that are here, that are preventing you from attacking Germans, and after we clear Germany itself, you won't have to take my big pile out because it's going to go somewhere else. Yeah, like Poland. Mr. Prime Minister, is this a great idea? All right. The Germans are in a position to attack either the French or the Americans. They want to attack the French, but they're not sure the British are going to allow that. Either way, if the French are destroyed, if the British destroy them or the Germans, then I want to make the move on Romania, where I have that 2-to-1 attack still sitting in place. The French didn't bolster that. They bolstered the important defense. So I think the first country that's going to attack anyone is the Brits. And I have 15, which could get me a 3-to-1 against either the French or the Americans. See, this allows me to knock the Russians out of here. They're not as big. I get a 3-to-1 on them. Nobody's going to take the Americans out this turn. So I'll go for, well, I'll go for the Americans here in the hope that I take them out, and that's 3-to-1 against them. 5 is an exchange. I knock them out of my politics. That means I can attack anyone here. I have 24. That gives me 3-1 against the Russians. I like the 3-1 attack. 3. That gets rid of the Russians. Hey! Germany now has almost a free hand in Czechoslovakia. They don't have enough troops to hit the Russians, though. They could pick off the Americans, but that's not in their plan. And I certainly don't want to knock the Americans out of Poland. They're just helping me. So we'll let the Russians go, and they don't have anything they want to do bad. So we go to the Germans, and they have 30. That's 3-1 against the French. That's going to be an exchange. So I lose one of these big 10-pointers. But I get rid of the French understanding, which I needed to take care of, which means I get a 2-1 over for Romania. And that is successful. I have enough points left, 7 points, that I can get the control marker there that I placed. And geez, I moved this and I don't know where it was. I think that was turn 4. I think that puts us down to turn 5. Okay, this is since we're getting kind of late in the game and I'm less familiar with this one, I did a point tally here of points that the country has and points that it can still get. So the US has 7 out of 19 possible right now. France has 10 out of 20. Britain has only 3 out of 20. This focus on Germany is really hurting them. All they have point-wise is Poland. But they still have a lot available. Russia has 10 out of 22. And Germany has 13 out of all 25. So far, they haven't been closed out of anything. Russia hasn't grabbed the Baltics alone or anything like that. Ooh, no, I lied. They're back 1 point. It's out of 24. However, people who need to get control of things, like Russia needing Poland, Germany needing Poland and Czechoslovakia, those are becoming harder tasks as the game goes on. Those things are easier to seize early in the game. And if you don't get them early, it takes a big pile of pieces to take it, which can cut you off from other points, and maybe there's better things you can do than taking Poland in 39 or whatever. The other problem is Britain and the US are becoming juggernauts here. 21 points for Britain? Yeah. And 22 for the US, and that goes up next turn to 24 each. That really puts a crimp on what Germany can expect to do. They look like they're doing pretty well right now, but they're going to have a lot of trouble mobilizing, even though they make more points. Right now they're at 28. Next turn it's 32. It means that they have to take risky attacks to gain the points, and they're less dominating in this scenario than they are in the historical. That may mean that it's easier for them to win just because of the diplomatic situation amongst the players, knowing that Germany's not this behemoth that can do whatever it wants late in the game. Like I said, the late in the game may be harder because you need to pile more points, but that's exacerbated by the situation in this game where 2 of the defending players, Britain and the US, just have piles and piles of points to prevent other people to either use to shoot down other people's points, which is what Germany is usually very good at using its extra pieces for, or to just defend things. So we'll see what the US can do, wants to do. They kind of want their points in Germany, but we'll see. Okay, some of the usual, the U.S. threw a bunch of points into Germany, basically what they wanted to afford, what they could into Great Britain. And then elsewhere they say, well, I can't be attacked if Germany doesn't fall, if my hold in Germany doesn't fall. Neither Germany, Britain can attack me here, but Germany can't attack me here. So I feel pretty safe. The other side, then the French trying to reestablish themselves in Germany. Those can't be attacked unless the Brits attack here, and the Brits ended up not putting enough points to get good odds against the French. They were looking at wiping the Americans out. But there's a chance the Germans might pull out of Germany, hoping that the Brits wipe it all out. And there's another chance that they might go in on a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 attack, hoping, probably 2-to-1, hoping for an exchange. Well, see, an exchange doesn't help them at 2-to-1 as much. It doesn't help Britain. A 1-to-1 helps Britain, but a 2-to-1 against the French would allow me to maybe get my way into Czechoslovakia. If the Brits can take care of the Americans, I can probably get Poland. So these things become very intriguing. Russia threw all their points in Russia. They're trying to destroy the U.S. presence there. They're hoping to get a shot into Poland, and right now it doesn't look like that is going to be viable. They're afraid to go into Germany. It just looks too ugly right now. So trying to defend Germany, even though that's where all their points are, they don't think Germany's going to fall this turn, but they think their pieces might end up dying if they put them there. They might end up being the target of opportunity. It's not that likely because they're protected up here. Britain's not going to attack them, but Germany might. So they figured knocking the U.S. out and clearing the way to being effective in Poland might be useful. I don't think that's actually the case, thinking at this point, because the U.S. is going to have so many points. If things fall out where the U.S. isn't throwing all their points into Germany or to defend it by putting them into England, for example, what are they going to do? They're going to defend Poland, maybe Czechoslovakia, but Poland is definitely something where their points are going to go, and I don't produce as many points as the Russians. So, and I also have, if Germany doesn't fall, a desire to go into their next turn, but we'll see. As to the Germans, what do they want to do? I don't know. I'll come back when I'm ready to do the combat. So Germany's decided to go after the French here, and thus after Czechoslovakia as a valuable territory, instead of trying to aim at Poland, which maybe they can get Soviet help with. U.S. not attacking anything, France not attacking anything, to Britain. Britain's odds here aren't good. We could go 1-to-1 against the U.S., but instead we're going to hit the U.S. here at 2-to-1, which is more or less what we've been agreeing to do with Germany, and we miss. No damage for that. It's going to put it to the Russians. They're making an attack on the U.S. here at 2-to-1. And they get an exchange. Not really something they can afford, but at least they have their pieces there. They prevented a U.S. placement that'll restrict them on the attack on Poland, perhaps. I'm not sure that attack was a good idea. For the Germans need to open up at 3-to-1 against the French. We knock them out. Actually, we didn't have to hit them. They didn't have a control marker there. But essentially, we're doing a favor for the Brits, I guess. And here, 34. I think there's 17, 5, 10, 11. I miscounted. Shit. I thought I had 17 here. Why did I think that? I counted something as 1 that was a 5. Oops. All right, let's go for the 1-to-1. Nope. Yeah, if I had my 2-to-1, I would have gotten in there. Did I need it? I could have gotten 3 extra strength points here. 37. Probably not. 10, 21. No, I couldn't have gotten there anyway, so no. It's just my plan. I could have thrown enough troops in had I not attacked the French, but oh well, bad stuff happens. And now we'll set up for the final. And tons of points available. Here's where we are. Not much different than the point values. Everybody stayed the same. No new areas were controlled, so nobody lost any points that they could get. U.S. boosted their way up to 12. I don't know where they shoved themselves back into. Maybe I'm miscounting them, because I only have them in Britain. Is that worth 5? Yeah, that's worth 5 to them. Okay. And everything's pretty much remaining fairly static. With all those Brits in there, you know they're going to take a shot at it. The question is, can they manage better than a 1-to-1? Germany's probably going to evacuate. They don't need to be there. The only reason they need to be there is to blow the U.S. out. And they're hoping maybe the Brits will do that. However, if they don't, that means the Germans don't get into Poland or Czechoslovakia. So they've got to kind of look at the situation and evaluate it at that point. Lots and lots of points, as I said, for this final turn. So we'll see how it falls. The U.S. fortified its positions, as well as moving into France, Russia, and other places where it could get points. I don't think they went into Italy. Do they care about Italy? Probably not. No. The French also spread out, trying to grab points. They didn't go into Germany because it's too unsettled. So they went into Italy, jumped into Poland, and that's about it. The Brits, though, basically conceded the game. Their only way to get a victory probably would be to have launched an attack in Great Britain against the U.S. and Russia, assuming that Russia doesn't throw a lot of troops in, or points in, which they did, and then launch an attack against the two of them in Germany. They just didn't see a possibility for it. Unless somebody clears things before they go, which I doubt the U.S. or France is willing to do, they have no chance of taking Germany. So all these points that they've been pouring in there, totally worthless. However, they are able to get themselves into, the running, as it were. They're not going to be completely humiliated by placing in places like France, the U.S., Russia, etc. As long as Poland, Czechoslovakia, and all that doesn't fall. They won't be too far behind. They're worried about, well, maybe they're not conceding. Maybe they can win, by being the dark horse with a really low value to begin with. They're not going to attract much attention, whereas they're going to hit France and the U.S. here as much as they can, where they can, to try to deprive them of some points. But only where they can, and there aren't a lot of where they cans. Poland's one of them. They have 10 points they can do to a 2-to-1 against one of them. Over here in Czechoslovakia, also a 2-to-1. So they're planning on trying to trim those guys down a little bit. Of course, that weakens those guys for Germany. And we're up on Germany, and Germany has to make a decision of what they want to go for. They have a good deal of points. They're in the lead right now. If they can get Poland, I think they can win. In order to get Poland, though, they have to knock the big U.S. presence, which is 30 strength points out of Germany, as well as hit this. The Russians didn't go into Poland, so we'll be getting it alone if we get it. Another alternative, well, Czechoslovakia is even harder to take, although I have a lot of points there. If I don't have to worry about anyone here except the U.S. in terms of over in Germany. So I might be able to actually get control of both of them if I'm very lucky. We'll see. I got a lot of points to spend, but I'm going to have to throw most of them into Germany. Alternatively, I could throw them in and play the peace game. Well, we'll see which one I choose. Right now, I'm leaning towards the aggressive game because that's what I'm used to with Germany, but this may not be the game for it. You know what I need to do? I need to see how many points everybody's got right now, because Germany does get that final option. So they get a much better view of where everyone is just before they make their play, and again, before they make their attack choices. Their points shake down. U.S. has 19. France has 16, Britain has 15, Russia has 18, really closely packed together. Germany's still at 13, but they can certainly pad those points. If they can break that 19, hey, they might as well go with it. Of course, somebody could shoot down their points, but if they pad their locations well enough, going for the complicated thing won't be as necessary. Now, I have to see what I can get off understandings. I I don't have many right now. One off Britain, one off France, one off Italy, and two off Russia. That sounds like I'm at 5 points. I can get to about 18 if I shoot the US down, though. And these aren't all established, but that doesn't really matter. If I can shoot the US down, US and Russia down, I think I can get the win. So that might be the safer way to go at this point, rather than try to just blast my way through Germany. And understanding in Germany means I can't do it that way. I gotta blast that out of the way. If I blast that out of the way, I might as well go for the bigger points, probably. Although it's still riskier to go for Poland, but I gotta make this attack on the U.S. and Germany if I'm gonna plink off any of their points anywhere. Only France could hit them otherwise. I could talk to France, but France doesn't have a lot of firepower available. They could hit Britain here. They can't hit the U.S. here. They could go for a 1-to-1 here. I'm not going to be able to sell them on that. I don't have the points available. I need 60 to get a 2-to-1 against the U.S. here. Now I can go for that risky 1-to-1. And I can't do something like try to cut a deal with the Brits. Hey, I'll knock the U.S. out of here, because the Brits have to attack first. That's done. All of it's done in this order here. So there's no way around that. I'm looking at a second place finish unless the Brits can knock off the U.S. here and here. If they can do that, that's great. That'll give me some position. So I guess I'm aiming against the Russians at this point. They do not have an understanding with me, so I can target them. I feel like the die is pretty much cast. Somebody like Britain still has to bring France or well, they can't. Oops. I was counting on Britain hitting the French. They're not going to be able to hit the French. No, the U.S. They're not going to be able to hit the U.S. here. The Germans have thrown in enough to go with a one-on-one against the U.S. there, with a hope of knocking that out so that they can attack elsewhere, particularly Czechoslovakia. Everywhere else they've grabbed the points they can. No one is likely to hit. Oh, the Russians might. They're at 16 to 13. They're not going to hit that. The Russians will probably knock the French with the 2-to-1 because they can do that safely. Okay. So, does the U.S. want to hit anything? Well, the U.S. can hit whatever they like. And they like. Who gets more, Russia or the Germans? The Russians get more here. The Russians are in good point standing. I'm going to go for them at 2-to-1. And I destroy the Russians out of France. And that throws them back. I got lots and lots of points here. I got 30 points to 10-14. I can go 2-to-1 against the Russians. This might clear the way for Germany, but the thing is, Russia gets so many points off of this. I get an exchange there. That's 10-14. Get 1 point back of U.S. I do have to worry about the replacement points here, simply because it's important. There's a chance other people will be attacking. This isn't like when the Germans are attacking, or if somebody's attacking, no one else can attack in that place. Anywhere else where the U.S. has an advantage? No, they'll hold off everywhere else. Let's go to the Froggies. We got 8 here. We're not going to make an attack on that. Britain's too important to us. Looks like the French are holding off. We go to the Brits. The Brits can't attack the Americans. They don't want to attack the Germans. They're hoping the Germans, well, the Germans can't really do anything for them, but they can knock the Americans back. And that's good for us. The only place we have is we have 10 here, but we can't hit anybody there. They both have understandings. That was stupid of me to go in there. Same thing here. I was counting on being able to make those attacks, but I was mistaken. And you'll see that quite often in a real game too. Somebody's just not paying enough attention, so it's not really that big a deal. We go on to the Russians, and the Russians have a lot of points here. They have 16. They can hit the French at 2-1. They get an exchange, knocking a lot of French points down. And I'm going to be getting 2 back, which gives me 3. And I don't expect that the Germans are going to attack the Russians there. Although, maybe. Down here, well, the Russians have 2-1 against the French and England and U.S. The U.S. is ahead of us, so in we go. 2-1 against the U.S. Maybe not a great idea, but I'm worried about the U.S. points right now. And that's it for the Russians. It's not a good idea in the sense that by making that attack, now I've weakened Czechoslovakia if the Germans get away with their attack. Their attack's a 1-1 now. They get it. And 1-1, they just handed control of Germany to the Brits. I should have put one more point in there. Damn it. That was not wise. Oops. Okay, well that might just be the game right there. Because I wasn't counting those extra points for Britain. That's 5 extra points. They just won, I think. That changes the world tremendously. Now the Germans have to attack the Brits more than anything else. And we're going to need to do a quick point reevaluation after that control just happened. Everyone else's points have been degraded significantly. Germany's at second place with 18 to Britain's 20. They're going to get off that control. And one extra German strength point there would have done that. I could have not put, well, it was a 2-1 attack on me if I went in there. I think I threw some extra points in here, though, that I didn't have to put in. So here I have 37 points now. That's enough that I could get a 3-1 on the Brits. What's Czechoslovakia worth to the Brits? It's only worth 1 point. But if I can get control of Czechoslovakia, that's worth 3 points. Anywhere else I can make attacks? Yes, there are other places I could try to plink attacks. And really, it would be, not here, it would be degrading German points almost as likely as British points. But let's see what we're looking at. Let's try this because this is the biggest payoff. 20, 30, 7. And it's worth nothing to me if I don't attack. To 11, 16, 26. I get a 1-1 against that. Let's go for it. Not my day. All right, now, had I blown the British out of there, I could have probably scored better elsewhere against the Brits. And that's the problem here. Which means, so if I had just gone against the Brits at the 3-1, well, I wouldn't have done it. So it worked out okay, I guess, given the die roll I got. But now I've got to start looking. Where do the Brits get points that I don't? So let's look at Italy. Italy is worth 2 to the Brits and only 1 to me. I'm going for a 1-1 against the Brits there. And I knock them out. Like I said, Italy was worth 2 to the Brits. Do I want a tied game, or am I willing to take more risks? The only other risk I have available that I can really make against Britain is a 1-1 in the USSR. The USSR is worth 4 to the Brits and 2 to me. I got a 1/3 chance of gaining points on the Brits and dropping down to a 16, but a 1/3 chance of falling out of first place entirely. So I'm going to call it here. I'm not going to make that additional attack. I'm going to take my tie with Britain. Since Germany or Russia got above 15 points, World War II starts. Bang, there we go. And what we can see about this one is I think it's a more dynamic and interesting situation than the historical. I don't think all of the ahistorical ones are, and especially this is probably the most interesting for the U.S. to be involved in. Although the anti-Bolshevik crusade at least allows them to go for things other than no controls and no understandings. The other ones really keep the U.S. in the same position. Although the aggressive French-British is interesting because they want no understandings there. They're in favor of Germany taking things like the Baltic states because they can score big points off them. So honestly, a lot of the ahistorical scenarios are kind of interesting. I guess the aggressive French policy is the only one that's not interesting for the U.S. They make the game a little more balanced and bring the U.S. in as a real player in a way the historical game doesn't. The one thing to remember about the what-ifs, though, in this is they're within the framework of the game in a way that they don't really let you explore some of the what-ifs, like the effect on Germany. And I mentioned this before, the effect on Germany if, you seize the Rhineland. If they start losing, what would happen to Hitler's government? We kind of know what happened to the French and English governments. They stayed about the same until, the war started, and then Chamberlain got the sack. All right, let's send this up.